Welcome back. We're gonna go into Damodar Kund. Damodar Kunda. Damodar means Krishna, is another name for Krishna. I just found out. Damodar meaning cord belly, also. Sanskrit words cord and belly. The belly of the cord. Belly. Cord. In this regard, definitely, if you haven't seen my recent videos, you gotta see them. But this current coming in out of the Kaligandaki Valley that flows up this way, wraps around here, goes up this way. I think it basically goes around and causes this current to divide and go up this way, and then causes it to essentially it overflows down here and flows down into this current and starts to interact with it here. And then the current itself wraps around this thing and goes up and it goes over there across the valley, where it then interacts with the Himalayas there. So, belly of the cord is actually pretty apt, I would say. I mean, it's for the lakes. I don't know what this whole region is called. Like this. However, it's all part of it. It's all part of what made this. Okay, so, and Kunda, meaning lake, signifies the cord that Lord Krishna's mother tied to his waist to keep him in check when he was little. His mother tied to his waist to keep him in check when he was little. Mother tied to his waist to keep him in check while he was forming. I don't know. Just a fun thought. Okay, anyway, from the last video I found, I ended up copy pasting the language for Damodar Kund and found this other video. And I started watching it, and so we're gonna go through the images that I found. So they're making their way. At some point it will slow down. Making their way. So maybe basically coming in from somewhere over here to this region. So once they make it around here, I'll be able to place it a little better. Okay, making their way. We got these structures. A little different there. This I thought was just an interesting shape. It reminded me of Girnar, like a face in the mountains. Not sure what's going on up there. I guess it's man-made, but like we saw recently, there's a potential that it's not. Same for that. Same for that. Let me look over. Okay. We can just see, at least here, I'm not sure if it extends to there, but it might be actually that wide from this angle. Which is much more like the angle the water flowed. The water flowed down here, across the lakes. Let's go. that lake is this lake, not this lake. It's this one that we're looking at here. Looking over this way. So the water, though, wrapped around, and it basically had like a boundary from the downflow that held it, especially to this boundary of interaction, which is why that's there, because this whole region fanned down here, and especially like here drained into here, and centered it on that, whereas this one drained into here, and then between them was a boundary that carved this path, this shallogram feature here, which then are in a line going over to this side because the water went around here, came up here and ramped off above and over there. If you haven't heard me say that already, I know it sounds ridiculous. Okay, so let's get back to these images. So that's looking at the ramp. Not the best picture. Sun's pretty glaring. Clouds are blocking a lot of the detail. Well, maybe showing some detail that I'm not picking up on. Just looking around, we've seen lots of pictures of this. I'm not sure where this is. I feel like I've came across this before. This mound that has these 3 features on it. I believe in the distance is this, or maybe not. Let me close this. In the distance, looks pretty flat. I don't know. I'm not sure where that is. Let's just move on. I'm not sure where this is. I just took its picture because it was shaped like this. This is uphill from the lakes somewhere. I'm not sure exactly. Like over here. So probably in that stretch. Like here. Particularly. We can see it over there. I'm just like, I guess this way. Looking across. This video is so good. I can't wait. We haven't noticed yet, but this water has some interesting things going on. It's pretty wide. Like, imagine a column of water that's flowing in a perpendicular eddy, like a vortex through, like a whirlwind. What's it called? A whirlpool, like a whirlpool that goes through that way and reaches across 30 kilometers to the other side of the Gandaki Valley. Because there's just that much pressure with the on the water in the region, trying to find outlet from over here, all over here, and beyond probably. that was flowing across this way trying to find an outlet, and it ran into resistance here, where then it ended up building the Himalayas. But in like participating in the process, where it interacted with a cross current from over here, going like that way, and then going around this way. I believe. Not completely sure on the details like that, but the water is, recently we talked about also, like, it passes by the deepest lake on Earth that is aligned with it, the Gandaki Gorge here. So that's where we're at. We're in this setting with a bunch of water trying to get from this side basically over to here to drain into the ocean, and it's going around, but it's also trying to find a way through, so it etches paths at periodically, which also happens in the mountains, where there's these etched paths through in a similar fractal way where it's happening here. Building so much pressure as this water goes uphill into the Himalayas that it flows to the side down this channel where this is, but then it goes uphill again and runs into enough resistance that it forms an eddy in the location that it can, kind of like here, like there's an uphill here, so there was a space for currents to go down, and they went down so much that they actually started to flow downward and etch into the ground and create what would end up being lakes. Some cool features over there. Okay. Not completely. I think this is the so going back here, like looking out this way, where here's the lakes behind us, or I guess that way. This way? Oh, yeah, behind this way is the normal way we're looking. I think that's this, generally. All these lines then that we just saw, these little things are probably closely tied to what we can especially see here. Maybe they even are those. Ultimately, I'm trying to turn it. Like, okay. So then out there, now we're going around, we're looking down. So the water flowed down this way, and then it turned around this way and went uphill into the Himalayas, like deeper and higher. But basically that caused it to bend back and wrap around some, maybe here or some point that is for some reason more visible, I guess. Here, like here. Around this boundary especially. I don't really see it here. Maybe it's like there. Comes in like that way. Or that's like the thing sticking out there. Flowed in. Looks like it even formed like ridges there and like there. Maybe. Very interesting over here. So it's flowing down off of here, creating these lobes, I guess. Whereas over here, it's flowing up, so it's really going to specific outlets that are more so like a function of the whole. Like this whole thing, the center goes to there, but then it runs into this cross current, so it bends in it, but it still goes up from there. Whereas this, I guess the center is generally there. This one here is maybe near that center point. This one here, maybe near that one, but it looks like it went off to the side. Very cool. It makes me wonder if that's one of the other lakes. Like, I'm not sure that that's that. What if that's this one? Is that a lake? I feel like there's other lakes out here. I don't think it's that one, but maybe there's more lakes than the ones depicted. I guess it's probably Damodar Kund. Damodar Kund. Up and across where the water was going up and out. That's interesting. Okay, this is exciting. So he's looking down and we're seeing like he's kind of in a good position for us to see some things. I don't know if I remember where this was. It might be like here. Let's see. Maybe. I think what I found interesting was this. I would like to know where this is. Maybe that's one of these features. That are like that. One of these, though. It's definitely got like a chain where it goes over here, goes around here. Black and orange. I think that's looking this way. At this wall. So this has little arc in it. Little ripples that look kind of like shallogram teeth. Ribs. Okay, let's go back. Then this, it's somewhere on the left side here, like maybe here. Like around here. Yeah, like that. This is where those pressure points are. Looks like there's layers, like one here and then another layer. That went there at least. Okay, but he's over here. That's cool. So that's an interesting feature, that this side has these ribs, which really does suggest like a current that's flowing in an eddy. Now this is looking straight across. This here, we can kind of see these features. And how rounded this is. Very bowl-like. Is over here. So he's looking over here. So this side is way more rough looking than this side, at least what we can see here, maybe not there. Looks very rounded. Some features going down in it. That looks like a somewhat of a circular thing right there. Could that be the beam turning the corner? Like going around here, around this way, turning the corner and hitting that location, like going across here and like maybe there, if that was there. It looks kind of like it actually was there. Maybe multiple locations across, hitting there. Cross hitting there. Creating like a feature there. I didn't notice that until just now. Still see it in this image. Maybe a bit of a center there too. Maybe one there. Maybe a row of them. Doing the same thing. There too, there too, there too. This is the right side of that hill. So we can see the tip here a bit. This is the water came up this hill, possibly above this level, but it was still like at the base, coming up the hill. And so this is across the way, over here. So this is kind of like here. I'm not sure where this image is from exactly. I think that's where it is. Let's look at it, see if there's anything cool. There's those slices. Kind of, so the Gandaki Valley is pretty much one of these where the Himalayas are like 2 blocks that they couldn't get through, so it channeled through. And then it did it again further east in the Himalayas and probably other places. I don't know exactly. Especially wobbly through in other places, maybe not as straight through. Like the Kali Gandaki is just straight through, like it just etched through. Lots of detail here. There's another view of that spot. I'm not sure where he is now. We can kind of see little teeth here. Is that here then? Where? I don't know where he is. I don't think he's here. Let's just move on. I feel like I see a chain of one color. Kind of like that. But smaller. Okay, back at the lake. This is pretty interesting, just the shapes that are down here. So I took a bunch of pictures of the shapes. Walking through, checking out the shapes. And then I noticed here, it's rather sandy. It's probably still pretty similar. So I was just thinking maybe inside where it got etched more is a relatively different material than the surroundings. It's hard to say because this definitely is in there. It's definitely got a bunch of rocks, so it's probably just got like things depositing preferentially on top of it that the water prevents growth. So like any that's here is hidden and water brings it there anyway. Okay. But I thought maybe that was interesting, like out here. I'm not sure if that's actually, that's probably not, it's probably more like this though. Okay, let's just go through these. I'm not sure exactly what's happening in some places like that. Now we're noticing, I'm not even sure I noticed at this point, the water is subtly frozen. So it's not completely frozen, it's subtly frozen. And it has some cool features I'm not sure about here that are like this kind of has a bunch of things I wouldn't expect ice to have when it freezes. It really does. What? And it's got some over here too that are some not as pronounced. Maybe we should just play the video. I'll play this. Okay, now we're seeing tooth-like structures around the edge. This is ice. Why is the ice doing this? I've never seen ice do this. It's incredible. What? Oh my god. Little rib there, little rib there, little rib there, little rib there, maybe. Like, order in these lines. Some more teeth. Maybe back here too. Oh my god. Okay, that might be the end of the ice. I'm not sure. Let's move on from that one. I think I just found that interesting, the way that was there, and maybe this also. Okay, more ice. It really suggests that the water inside of the lake has current flows, as subtle as they may be, that are encouraging certain locations of the ice to be more able to freeze, maybe because it is less in motion. Like this spot isn't moving as much as the surrounding current, so it's just more able to freeze, etc. Because I don't think it's just purely like the structure of the underlying structure, because it's kind of rocks which don't connect like this. Like that doesn't really make sense for just rocks to like maybe reduce the height of the water above it along a stretch of rocks, which maybe is at play. But to then thread it like that, really, to me, points to a current being present. Incredible. There's a pretty big one, like, thing there. And then it also had ripples in the water, in the same body of water. So cool. That's how subtle it was frozen. Okay. So we can see... I believe that's the right side of the ramp. Yeah, that's the right side of the ramp. Over here... there's no sign of that in this structure. But that's the structure here. I guess that, maybe? I guess it's there, but it's not pronounced whatsoever. But they're basically somewhere, wherever they're standing, they're looking at this and that. Standing on this, whatever this is, and then that's the right side. So that's real interesting. Pardon me. Current's coming around this way, goes over here, runs into this current, makes it go up this way, but it like has the pressure going this way, so it kind of bends and then goes this way. Possibly feeds in somewhat too, but interacts and then goes around this way because it can't go in this way either, really. Maybe it just went over here a lot and went up here, like held this boundary. And then it went around. While this current came down and bent in it, and especially turned at this thing. So this thing's pretty important. Over there, that it has that's pretty interesting. Also looks like maybe the water that went around and bent around this way, not atop the ramp, but around the ramp, that went through here, maybe it also etched out this little region here. Like it went across this way, up here, over this way, and then just basically up here. And etch this region. Even this region protected because of this. So it went like above it. And etched it like there. Not there. Looks like it's generally centered on there, maybe? I don't know. It's just maybe that location. Although I think actually it's maybe there, right there. So maybe both of those were part of it, because that looks kind of like one of those circle points. I'm not sure where that is. Here? Okay, let's go on. Pardon me. It looks like there's two channels. One on the right, one on the left. Or, yeah, left, right. Let's go here real quick. Like, I think it's here. There's two channels, though. Like this and this. So there's a small channel and a larger one, I guess. Small channel. Maybe the small channel is closely related to this. I don't know. And the big channel goes over here. I don't know why. It looks like the small channel, like whatever is involved in this, looks like it is involved in this. Okay, let's go on. So there's that again. You can see that again. Where a current went around the other side. This way, around the mound, and this way. So it basically compacted this as like a separator. So that this current could get by the current that was flowing this way around and flowing out that way. Like if not for this current passing by, this would have flowed out that way and not created this and just etched more so into this and maybe found a way out where it didn't bend, but because that current went up that way, instead it compacted this material between it that even formed a spine that then was etched by the overcurrents flowing atop it. Where it was like a denser rock, so it was not eroded as much as the rest of it, and then we see the spine from the compression. You can really see the teeth in the side of this here. This little, I'm pretty sure that is natural and interesting, and maybe not, but it looks natural to me. I don't know why it happened, but it looks natural, like it was just like that after the process. Although maybe not, actually. Hard to say. Hard to say. They might have added that. They look so nice and just defined. There's a wall here, so we saw a wall in a previous one. Here's this wall again. It's going to become more defined as we go. So looking down across, this is looking this way. Looks like maybe some chakras there. Whatever's going on there is pretty interesting. Looks like even a chain of it. And some of them down here. Not really visible here. I mean, we can see them, but I guess it's visible. It just looks way more relevant. Like a rock. Like a dense rock structure. I don't know. I don't think it's water. This is interesting. In the middle of that ramp is this slit where the current was flowing. Yeah, no, I know. Goes up. The slit goes up, up this way. On the main conduit's path, not the offshoot one. Still seeing all these ripples out here. Okay, now we're looking down again. It even has another one that seems to have little ripples out from it. I assume that's not added on man-made, but I guess it's possible. Like going that way. Or like here. Looks like some things on this map that I don't know. There's some more out there even. Maybe just really carve this down. I don't know. It's hard to say what it's like before the water flowed. This is ultimately what the process resulted in, and at like its peak, and then as it died down, it left behind this, and that's kind of what I'm talking about, is that time frame. It's harder to like piece back what it was like before the water was flowing completely. This is how huge this thing is. This is just the left side with these little teeth. And then the middle of this thing, the bowl shape that a current flowed up in an eddy. So this kind of supports the eddy, that there was an eddy present, that the rocks have even channels behind them that are in the tooth shape, which is how currents flow to avoid like a cross current flowing along. Like this boundary has this space to go, like, I guess over and up from pressures within the channel pushing out, where the opposite side of the structure is a pressure pushing in from the current going around here and through here at this whole channel, holding that wall, these walls, this like thin barrier between the currents that just has all these teeth, all these shallogram features. There's actual shallograms on the ground up here too. I don't know what to make of these rocks particularly. They definitely have the teeth. The teeth seem to be the most prominent thing and the most basic maybe. What's going on here? Just a bunch of rubble out here too. Like, a lot of current was flowing there. Just rubble. On this side, maybe more than that side? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe that played a role in it making it divide into two, a thin current offshoot. But this looks like to be like generally the middle, maybe. Looking out to the right again on one of those bends. Big old wall. Arcs around, arcs around. There's the left peak over there still. This thing is huge. You can see the bowl. We can see some pretty interesting repeated shapes out there. From the larger eddy wrapping around. Bunch of debris. Okay, looking back. Now we're looking back. This is how much of a slope it produced. It's definitely not like rounded, so maybe it's not completely eddy-like. Maybe I'm a little exaggerating that aspect of it. It definitely is flowing generally in a like circulating way. But it may be held down by pressure so that it's like an elongated eddy that's more in like a shape like this thing. From Myron Cook on YouTube. Geological formations. Elongated though, so maybe more like this, but even more elongated, so it's more like we're looking at like this structure, but a ramping one that had a current flow atop it of water that was more like that, elongated. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. These ribs even playing a role in like the spacing. Like this is where more flowed and then it constricted, kind of like a shallogram. The stacked ones that I've been referring to frequently recently. Looking back down again. Not sure what this was. There's those shallogram looking stuff again. Okay, now we're looking, I believe, like out this way, I guess. Somewhere out there. Like in that direction, I guess. Out here, so standing around here somewhere. On the hill still, we can really see the like lobes of the teeth shapes. Opposite side, I guess. It's got almost like different tiers of ramps. Like it ramped at a high level here, a medium level here, and a low level here to different points. Like off of this side, or I guess it's looking here. So maybe it did go ramp that way too. Went to like points over there. Had a bunch of pressure points. So it could just shoot a column. All just like adding gears. That happens when a current can't make it through some resistance. It basically will eddy, and then that will produce a capacity for the current to just like apply pressure at basically all of the boundaries, and then find a weak point, and then it goes through that weak point. And so it can just repeatedly form these eddies that then like are effectively shooting currents out to like fill all possible pressure points, so that then a current can just like free flow in the only remaining place, which is out, which is what then happened from here. This is kind of interesting. So maybe that's what's going on there, is some more ramps for pressure points. Looking down at that thing again, at that wall again. Lots of little T structures. On the ground there, and shell appearance. Well, pretty much everything on the ground here looked like it had some shallogram elements to it that was large enough and defined enough. I mean, I can't tell these things, but like that, maybe these, maybe that one. Whatever happened here, like, looks like a spot where the current was flowing into, and just like it was composed of a harder material, but the current was just etching little channels through its every like thread of opening it could make, but it was like lodged in place under the pressure. Something. So that's this video. Which I played at several different speeds. Let's see. Let's watch the part of him hiking to the top of this. Which is right after that thing. Right here. Incredible. Move my mouse. I gotta play it slower, it's too fast. Oh my god. This shape out here. It's got a little protruding. wraps around the bend, comes up and around, wraps around back there and back up towards him. Now with the rocks, that one's pretty interesting. They're all pretty interesting. Let's get past the rocks though. There's probably a lot of shallogram features in the rocks overall. That's interesting. I guess that was a wall feature, like the wall we were looking at, just this one got fully eroded. I think he's at the top. Pretty much, yeah, that was the opposing peak that he turned it towards. Right there. Ice up here. Incredible. It's a stream coming up this thing. Wow. I'm not sure if I took a picture of that. I think it's just a rock. I think it's just like this. It's hard to say. Like, definitively. I mean, it really looks like it is just like this. That's crazy. It's got this little arc down there. It's like it removed the material and exposed the innards of the mountain more here. Some straight lines across. There's all the rocks. That had more shallogram-like features. And then that right next to it. That's part of why I wanted to play this. Good thing I didn't skip the rocks again. That looked like a shallogram. It turns on this, incredible. And then right next to it is this. Maybe that too. Maybe a whole structure around it, like it had a ring structure around it, maybe. Let's go back a little. I didn't see any, like, approaching it. Okay. So we made it to the top of the ramp, and it's incredible. Oh my. It seems like pretty well capable of being like in line with the hypothesis of its formation process, where currents came through this way and this way. Came through the Kaligandaki Gorge and through this way, and then it interacted here, and then the Damodar Coon formed here due to this pressure making the water like balloon out in a region where it had to go uphill into resistance, I guess. And this flow went this way and went down this way. Like this pressure point made this flow go this way. So this flow couldn't continue across, so it ended up having to go uphill to go out this way. So instead it just like filled this region first and swirled a lot. And shot a beam over here that then flowed out over here. And I don't know what else it did. Where it flowed like this into the Kaligandaki Valley, and then into the Damodar Coon Canyon region. I don't know what to call it. It must have a name. It's hard. I have not found any geological papers on this. I found them at best on the Tethys sedimentary sequence here. Nothing that has mentioned Damodar Coon. Damodar Coon. But we see the current going across, creating all those teeth on that side. So that fits pretty well. We see a wall that fits pretty well. The wall must really indicate like a squeeze point where it can't even make like larger structures anymore. Before that, it was just, it created this entire structure. Or maybe it just etched it, I don't know. I feel like it created that wall. The wall doesn't really make sense unless it's from pressure this way and just pressure this way from the mountain and the water. Like there's just nowhere to push this material anymore, so it just squeezes, and at the center, kind of like the densest, maybe the densest material goes to the center and forms like an actual wall. I'm not sure why it has that 90-degree bend. 90-degree bend. Possibly related to this current coming in this way. Or just the fact that this is here holding a boundary this way, and then over here holding a boundary more so this way, and back here creating this etching region, maybe related to the corner then. Like right there, it flowed to there. I don't know. Alright. Was fun. Pardon my ridiculous quantity of videos. Sooner or later I'll stop, and that will be like, well, I guess it's good that I made many while I was doing that. Because I can't imagine I'll keep doing this forever. It doesn't, I mean, certainly not forever, but even the rest of my life. Unless my life ends shortly, I don't know. But, I don't know. Did we get a picture there? Let's see if we got a picture of that spot. I didn't think to look. Or maybe I just can look at the video. Maybe when he's at the very end. No. Okay, let's just go through these real quick. I don't think we're gonna see it. Darn. It's like right there. Oh well. Something happened there that's related to this mound. To this current going this way. Or to this current. I feel like it's probably this current though. Going this way. Maybe it was like a first ramp and it tried to ramp and it just ramped there. I mean, it wasn't enough to get out of the bowl, out of the pressure over that way. Literally up and out the opposite side. Like it wasn't relieving pressure this way. It was relieving pressure this way because there's already pressure here, I guess. Maybe these mountains also were being made to be larger, harder to get through. Also, this is a stag. I realize there's a stag element to this. The two-sided, like one of them from the emission from the nucleus region, the other like a recessive current outflow that just flows out. That goes like this way. Basically, once the pressure here is full enough, it goes over here and goes out this way. Because it just can't even ramp up and out enough. So then it has two channels out that are opposite to like a point that's kind of pointing towards here. Relatively. Depending on where the stag's head is. But I think that might be a major element to the stag, is that the antennas are like the current flows that are leaving the ammonite process, ammonite formation process, that's producing currents out of either that just can't get in because pressure is overwhelming, or the actual outlet flow that is like a channeled flow. This looks relatively connected. Like maybe even the flow that's going in like goes in and out this way and goes over there. But then this pressure fills, and the pressure in this whole region just fills to the point where it starts to like etch back this way and like flow out across that way, where this one flows into this one. Because there's really two here. And then this one. Then there's this. This is more like reaching the outlet. As it approaches the end, it goes through this way, it goes through here, and then it goes over here and finds a way out here. As well as probably interacting over here, but something to do with its finding a shortcut with this one here. Really channeling through though. Not sure if it's so very related to this directly. I guess maybe. Especially if it's flowing out over here. The water flows into here and it can't exit this way fast enough, so it flows overflows out this way and goes across and gouges out a channel that way. Runs into resistance, bends down, goes this way. Okay, I gotta go. See you guys later. Peace out.